All right, before we get started, you can give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for bringing us His truth. Honors to all the brothers that's pushing His truth, risking their life and freedom to do so. And Shalom to the hopeful elect, which is the true believers in Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, that's returning to Him during these last days so that He can have mercy on them in this time of judgment. So like I said in my last dream video, since I was a young dude, I've been having dreams about the end times, and I couldn't really make sense of them until I came into the truth of the Bible under GMS. But this dream here is going to just be a compilation of different dreams that I had of me being taken captive, I guess by the martial law troops, the Fema troops. They all went in the same, but pretty much being captured. This one night, I had a series of dreams, but this particular dream was probably really only about 30 to 45 seconds long. So it was nighttime, it was quiet, it's like all the power was out or something, because there was no lights on, it was completely dark outside. So I went outside and was looking around, because something just didn't feel right, and see a bunch of lights coming down the street my way. And it turned out all those lights was just a parade of military vehicles. The U.S. Army, the UN troops, the martial law troops, the military police, all kind of law enforcement, everybody you could think of that's coming down the street with all these military vehicles, police cars, buses, semi-trucks. And me being outside, they saw me. They shined the light on me. I ran back up the stairs into the apartment where I was at the time. They ran up the stairs to the apartment, knocked down the door. I made it to the back bedroom where I was about to jump out the window, but I don't think I actually jumped out the window. I don't think I made it. But after that, the dream stopped. And then there's just a few series of dreams I had here and there over the years that I would be at these facilities. And outside these facilities, it'd be like a bunch of lanes where a bunch of semi-trucks and school buses leaving, where they always coming in and they always leaving. Through the spirit, now I know that those semi-trucks and buses, they will be leaving to capture more people and bring more people in to this facility, which now I know is a FEMA death camp. So this facility, it had like a bunch of lanes. It might have been 10 to 15 lanes where they got these semi-trucks and school buses always coming in and out. And around this facility, it's a bunch of high gates, wire fences. It's usually a lot of guards everywhere. Guards on the ground level, guards standing on top of stuff with guns, all day and night. It's always monitored. But inside these facilities in my dream, which now I know is a FEMA death camps, what it looked like is a combination of hospital and a jail cell. And what makes it look like a hospital is it got those bright hospital lights in the ceiling, those super bright white lights. And then the floor is usually super clean and super bright. You got a lot of people walking around in them white lab coats, masks, gloves, goggles, like they work in the hospital. Then besides that, the other people you see a lot, it's a bunch of people in military gear, like super strapped up and armored up. And that's why I say it's like a jail in the hospital. And then the individual rooms, which would be cells, it looks like a hospital room, like a patient room, but those rooms are heavily guarded. They got bars on the windows, the doors is thick steel doors, super heavy. Everything is super locked and super secure. And even going between different parts of the facility at a FEMA death camp, all the doors lock behind you. So if you leave in one section, going to another section, you can't just freely push the door open. You got to enter a passcode. It's a digital door. It unlocks, then it locks up behind you. Once you in there, there's pretty much no escape out of there. What else? Yep, that's what you see a lot of. You see a lot of nurses from what it looks like and a lot of military police in there. which would be the security for the place. And like a video I uploaded called Jacob's Trouble, Esau Coming, like the brother said, in them FEMA death camps, they can be doing organ harvesting, human experimentation. They're going to be forcing people to get that solution in the MOB. What else? And they're going to be putting people to death. Or they're going to be doing human sacrifices, stealing people organs, stealing people blood. So it's going to be a lot of wicked stuff going on in there. But it's a combination of a hospital and a jail. It's super clean, which is weird. And it was super secure. And everything was digital. The windows, the doors, everything was digital. Nothing could be tampered with. That was my dream of me being captured and what it looked like on the inside and outside. Remember, outside there's a bunch of guards, a bunch of wire fences, a bunch of barbed wire, and one part there's a bunch of lanes where all these trucks always come in and go out. That was my dream of me being captured. Pretty much once you in there, there's no way out, but through the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, because I was taken captured. But also, I had dreams where I escaped these FEMA death camps. And I'm going to do that lesson real soon. And me being captured and me escaping, that mirrors the events in the Bible. Because a lot of the prophets, they often got captured and threw in prison for their testimony of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. And we're going to look at that in the scriptures here in a few moments. But when these prophets got locked up, they might have been locked up, for years at a time, but they got out. But one thing to keep in mind, we at the end. So if any of us do get taken captured, we're not going to be locked up for years at a time like Jeremiah was, because Yahweh Shai will be speeding all this up. It's going to seem like forever for how hard and dreadful for the stuff that's going to be going on around us going to be, but it's really going to fly by. So if anybody fear being locked up for a certain amount of time ain't going to be your biggest problem. The problem is going to be that MOB. Now we're going to get into the scriptures. We're going to show scriptures that the Lord warned us some of us would be taken captive and threw into these FEMA death camps. And it happened to some of the prophets. That's why when we go to Mark chapter 13, verse 9, it reads, "Take no heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils, and in the synagogues ye shall be beaten, and ye shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them." So the councils, the synagogues, the rulers, and the kings will be today's presidents, the government officials, FEMA, law enforcement, the military, police, all them. And when we deliver to them, it's for a testimony against them. Because if they capture us, our mission is going to be to testify against them that they are evil. Yahweh Shai is going to destroy them. And through the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, the Lord will save us. But if he don't save us, he's going to destroy them and save us in the end. And that's pretty much the testimony. Then we go to Matthew 24, verse 9. It reads, "Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake." So it says, "Then they shall deliver you up," meaning it must happen. Even here, they shall deliver you up to councils, which would be the government, the law enforcement. So it must happen, because the Lord said it shall happen. And to be afflicted, to kill you, that's not many of us, but some of us, whose mission is to die for the testimony of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. But overall, we will be hated of all nations for our name's sake, even our own nation, because the world, America, gonna say we resistors. They're gonna say we resisting the solution, we resisting the MOB. They're gonna say the world can't get back to normal because of us. So we're gonna be hated of all nations, by our family, by our woman, by our kids, by our parents. We see it going on now. I love the scripture. So 2 Ezra chapter 16, verse 68. "For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, and feed you, being idle, with things offered unto idols." So again, this don't mean feeding you with a mouth. This means feeding something inside of your body through a needle. And we know what they trying to feed us in our body through a needle. But again, they shall take away certain of you. Certain means not all of you, but certain people shall be taken away to testify against these devils. So now we're gonna get into some of the books of the prophets. So this is when Jeremiah was thrown into prison. We're just gonna read all the way through. Jeremiah 37 verse 12. So at this point, Jeremiah had been prophesying to the king of Judah, which would be Zedekiah, that Babylon is going to take Jerusalem. But after Jeremiah prophesied that, Jeremiah fled Jerusalem and he was going to go to the land of Benjamin because he had some land that was given to him as an inheritance. But we're going to read this. Then Jeremiah went forth out of Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin, to separate himself thence in the midst of the people. So to separate himself from Jerusalem, because he knew Jerusalem was going to get taken over. And when he was in the gate of Benjamin, a captain of the war was there, whose name was Irijah, the son of Shelemiah, the son of Hananiah, and he took Jeremiah the prophet, saying, Thou fallest away to the Chaldeans, because the Chaldeans would be the ones to overtake Jerusalem. Then said Jeremiah, It is false. I will not fall away to the Chaldeans. And this dude said that to Jeremiah because that's what Jeremiah was saying, that Judah is going to fall to the Chaldeans, that the Chaldeans will take Jerusalem. But Jeremiah hearkened not to him. So Arijah took Jeremiah and brought him to the princes, that would be the council, the law enforcement. Wherefore the princes were wroth with Jeremiah and smote him and put him in prison in the house of Jonathan the scribe, for they had made that a prison. So Jeremiah was thrown in prison for prophesying against Jerusalem that Babylon was going to take it over. And that's pretty much the same thing we prophesying now. America is Babylon, and we prophesying that America is going to overtake Jerusalem, which America is also Jerusalem because most of the Lord's people is here. So America is all these kingdoms within one land. When Jeremiah was entered into the dungeon and into the cabins, and Jeremiah had remained there many days. Yeah, because Jeremiah was locked up for many years. But we're going to continue, because like we said, he was locked up for testifying, for prophesying the word of the Lord. And this was, if you fast forward some years, because Jeremiah was in and out of prison. They threw him in prison, then they take him to the court. He would have a hearing. They'd throw him in a different prison. So Jeremiah was going through that cycle. He was in the system, like a lot of our brothers, they in the system. So Jeremiah 32:2, For then the king of Babylon's army besieged Jerusalem, and Jeremiah the prophet was shut up in the court of the prison, which was in the king of Judah's house. For Zedekiah, king of Judah, had shut him up. So the king of Judah, Jeremiah's own people, shut him up for his testimony, for prophesying how Jerusalem will fall. For Zedekiah, king of Judah, had shut him up, saying, Wherefore dost thou prophesy, and say, Thus says the Lord, Behold, I will give this city into the hand the king of Babylon, and he shall take it. So this is Zedekiah, king of Judah, mocking Jeremiah, because it said Zedekiah, king of Judah, had shut him up, saying, Wherefore dost thou prophesy and say, Thus says the Lord? So he was saying is, what are you going to prophesy now? Or where are you going to prophesy now, saying, Thus says the Lord, since you in prison now? Because they didn't like the prophecy that he had. But overall, Jeremiah was thrown in prison for his testimony. As we continue, Jeremiah is going to testify against the king of Judah and against the council and against the princes many times before he is released from prison. Then we go down to Daniel chapter 6, verse 16. Then the king commanded that they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. So Daniel was pretty much thrown in prison. But the only difference was this prison had hungry lions in it. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his lords. that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. So Daniel was through in the lion's den for not worshiping the gods of the Medes and the Persians. But overall, it was the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Now, another example, even in the New Testament, people being locked up in prison for their testimony. This is just one verse here, just to prove a point that many of the prophets been through in prison before, and it's going to happen again for some of us. Acts chapter 12, verse 5. Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God for him. So Peter was through in prison for his testimony, and even the time we're coming into, if we do get captured, we got to pray without ceasing. We can't stop. We ain't going to have nothing else to do in these FEMA death camps, so you might as well pray if you got the faith, because that's going to be the only thing that really keep you calm and keep you stable. But these are the scriptures: Jeremiah, Daniel, Peter. They was thrown into prison, but there was many more people. Joseph, Paul, a lot of the prophets was often cast into prison. And the believers, some of us will be thrown into prison again, which would be the death camps. But the people that we covered today, Peter, Daniel, Jeremiah, those who we didn't cover, like Joseph, Paul, they all escaped their prison. And that's what's going to happen to a number of us that get through in these FEMA death camps. The Lord is going to allow us to escape. We just got to have faith, no matter how long it is, no matter what's going around us. If we don't escape, well, guess what? We completed our mission. We testified against them for the name of Yahweh Bashin Yahweh Shai. But that was my dream of me being captured and a little insight on what the FEMA death camps look like. Remember, it looks like a jail and a hospital. You got nurses and the military police all over the place. And everything's super digital and super secure. But remember, we got to remain faithful until the end. But till the next time, Yahweh willing, Shalom.